Yes, everyone, and welcome to Greek Talk, the premier video podcast for Greek genealogy enthusiasts. Greek Talk is hosted by Gregory Kontos, founder of Greek Ancestry, and co-hosted by Georgia Stryker-Kaleman of Hellenic Genealogy Geek and Carol Kostakos-Petranik of Spartan Roots. In each episode, Carol, Georgia, Gregory, and select guests will be discussing all things Greek ancestry, from tracing ancestral roots to delving into less-known aspects of Greek history and archival heritage. This first episode is kicking off with exciting news. Carol?
Hello, everybody. We do have some exciting news this week. MyHeritage, which has many collections of Greek records, has free access to all of their marriage collections throughout their website. So those of you that have family from Laconia definitely want to check out the Sparta Marriage Collection, 1835 to 1935, that Gregory and I digitized and is now up on MyHeritage. So this is only for the next couple of days until the 17th, so you have to get on this quickly. The second exciting news is that Roots Tech, which is the largest genealogy in-person and online genealogy conference, will be starting at the end of the month, February 29th through March 2nd. It is in person, but it's also online and free. You can register, and there are hundreds, probably 450 or so classes that you can take that will be online. So I'll put those two links in the chat, and hopefully both of these will be very helpful for you with your research.
So now let us talk about the topic of the day, documents and photographs that are available for sale online. And we have a lot of people on the Hellenic Genealogy Geek Facebook group who make relevant posts, Georgia. What are your thoughts about this?
Relevant posts about this particular subject. Well, I think people find this. Recently, I spent some time looking at eBay. I've used it over the years. And first of all, I was shocked to see that there are over 500 documents that are out there. Oh my gosh, 500 documents. And Carol will talk about that in just a couple of minutes. They're from passports, identification documents of all kinds, baptismal documents, personal military documents. There's an old archive from a Jewish family from Salonika that shows photographs. And this is, what happened to this family? There's a whole family group out there. Things from Magula, all over. So it's very interesting, but it's a lot to go through. And, sometimes we find things, sometimes we don't. So I wish everybody a lot of luck in looking at that. It is also, they have Greek books, and a lot of them are in ancient Greece or poetry or things like that, but you can find a gem in there. As I was scrolling through, I found a book called The Immigrant from Sparta, Greece by C.G. Polakos. It was published in 1961. They wanted $199 for this, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous. So I started searching for this Polakos family, and it turns out I think I found them. They run Polakos Chocolates in Erie, Pennsylvania. The family still does. So I sent them an email last week. I still haven't heard back from them, but I'm hoping they can get me the book. Now, Carol then found the book for over $1,000 on eBay.
$1,200. It was $1,200, the same book. So here's the thing, you guys. eBay does have some really unique stuff, and I think Greg's going to throw a couple of these images online so that we can see them. But who has the time to go through them? I mean, 500 documents. You have to be able to read the Old Greek in order to find who the family is and the location. And I don't know, I'm not a big eBay person. The most I've looked is this last week or two as we've been talking about this topic. So I'm just curious as to how you can go through it and find things of interest. I believe that there are ways that you can put a watch on a topic. Georgia, do you know how to do that?
Yes, it's in the search box, and you can click on that and put in, you have to be signed in, but you can put in an alert and it'll alert you. And I've done that. I did that with a book that I was looking for out of Australia, Greeks in Australia, and the author was Hugh Gilchrist. And I couldn't find the book anywhere. I couldn't get it here in the States. And I put one up there, and a couple weeks later, I got an email saying that somebody had listed that book and I was able to purchase
Hmm.
it. So it's kind of handy. You can get a lot of garbage through there also, but it definitely works.
But you have to, but the person who's listing the item, like a document, let's say, from 1848, I saw a baptismal document from 1848, blew me away. Somebody, the owner would have to actually put in the name and the location in order for you to get notified by email that that particular surname or that particular location, that
Right.
there's
And they
a
don't,
document for you.
most of them don't have that. So Carol, you have some ideas on this, don't you?
Yeah. Here's my thought, you all, and we need the greater audience to help us with this. As I was looking through these, I was blown away by the types of documents that were available. And I thought, why can't we have a lost and found? How, if somebody's online and they find something, Greg, do you want to throw up on the
Yeah,
screen a couple of these documents so people can
yeah.
see what we're talking about?
So I'm going to show a couple of things that you've located on eBay,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
this is not advertisement.
No, it's not an ad. It's just, I mean, look at this document. This woman is a widow. I can read Hira, but I can't read her name. Um, and but she's an Asia Minor refugee, and how many people that we know are looking for their families, Asia Minor families. Here's a document, a piece to be Digo for this woman. It's $175. I'm sure if it was your family, you would contact the seller and say, see if you can get a better price. But how precious is this? And when I saw this document and I saw that woman's face, look at the heartbreak in her expression. It just touched me. There was another one that I saw that was a widow and her daughter. And let's see, this one right here. Again, it's the same thing. These are refugees from Asia Minor, Pontos. This is their documentation. How it wound up on eBay, I have no clue. But again, if this was my family, I would be happy to pay whatever the cost is to have this document in my possession. So how can we do a lost and found? If you're on eBay or I'm on eBay and we see this, can we post it on Hellenic Genealogy Geek and maybe somebody would be happy to at least translate the names so that people can look and see that that's their family. There's challenges though. Georgia knows the challenges with posting eBay documents. Georgia?
Yeah, when I looked into this, because Carol had this lost and found idea, the problem is copyright issues. You can't copy somebody's photograph that they've taken and put it out there. So that's an issue. And I think that there are over 500 documents. And I'd say half of them have pictures on them.
They do
It's
because they're
very exciting.
passports. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
passports, they're ID cards from all over the world.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking I could contact some of the big sellers and say to them, hey, you know what? It might help if you put in at least the birth location or um, the name in the surname in the description. I don't know if they would do it, but it would really be something if we could do Carol's idea of putting out a group of lost and found, because these documents aren't going to be there forever.
Right.
That's
They
right.
change.
And in many
Yeah.
cases, I don't think they would be willing to share the information, because they know that if they share the information, what they're selling is somehow, losing its value, because people want it for the information.
Plus, they use bad copies for this very same
Yeah,
reason.
exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I was, interestingly enough, 2 days ago in the Washington Post, there was an incredible article about a family who had experienced a tornado 16 years ago, that their house was destroyed. And there was a Facebook page that the town had started, and every once in a while they would throw up a picture or a document and on their Facebook page and say, does anybody know this family? Does anybody, know who this document belongs to? And this woman happened to see this picture, which was a picture of her grandparents' wedding in 1942. And she almost fell over because it had been lost from her house 16 years before, and it was found. So, her comment really struck me. Her comment was, don't give up hope finding treasures.
Yeah.
It might be 15 or 20 years, but you may find something. But if there's no forum, if there's no place to go, you'll never find them. So, yeah.
It's interesting how, to think about how all these documents and photographs end up on eBay, but also on other platforms, and even on Facebook groups. In Greece, there are many Facebook groups about antiques and old documents that are being sold, and in many cases, it's a family just wants to get rid of stuff, or they go bankrupt or whatever, and they want to sell, or just get rid of old items they have at home. One issue is when we are not talking about family collections that are just being sold, but bigger collections. So let's say that someone somehow has, voter lists from, Zakynthos, and this is it's a real case. Let me show you here. So one day I was hanging around like on the web, and I found about 30 voter lists from Zakynthos, the island of Zakynthos, being sold by a Greek antique shop online. And obviously this is not like a personal collection. This person somehow found all these records together. It was one thing. And then the sellers start selling those separately. So when you originally have a collection of, let's say, 50 voter lists, and if they're sold separately, you end up with 50 collections of one voter list. So that's an issue. What I did then was to buy all the voter lists, which was quite expensive. And yet 2 of them had already been sold. So we have a collection which is missing something. And this is also an issue, and it also has to do with, at the end of the day, do we want to encourage this trade? It has its good, aspects, like those you were mentioning before. You find your grandmother's refugee record, but in other cases, it ruins collections.
So, Gregory, who else would have bought those other 2 voter lists?
Maybe someone who came from that specific village, for instance.
I see. I see.
This morning, getting ready for today, I was browsing on eBay and found out that there's some seller there who has about 200 documents of the same type from the 1940s, and she sells them all separately at like $30 each. So that makes it impossible to buy the whole collection, and you need to, go document by document to see if it could be of interest to you, which is not something that you will do, right? And especially people who don't read Greek or the old Greek cursive.
Right.
So many documents, although they are right there online, nobody will notice them ever.
Mhm, mhm. That
Right.
is,
That's what's happening. Even when I look, I was overwhelmed with all of these documents that are out there, but none of them tell you what they are. And I don't know how people can go through all that. It would take days to go through these 500 documents and figure out what's out there.
Exactly. What I prefer to do when I find something of interest is, in general, I try to buy like books. So something that is complete. It gives you many records, and you don't go, record by record. Here's a business phone directory of Athens and Piraeus, 1947, that I found online, and I bought it. And this has already been digitized and indexed on the Greek Answer website. Or this monthly bulletin of the Hellenic Trade Chamber of Alexandria, 1927. We have just digitized this and are about to start indexing. Or this one is like from just for an individual. It's a refugee property declaration, 1924. So yeah, this is very rare. I've just seen like a couple of these online. It's the the form that the refugee had to fill out in order to apply for compensation for the property that had been left behind in Asia Minor.
so Gregory, this isn't a government document. This would have been from somebody's personal collection,
Exactly.
like a family, like you said,
Yeah.
just going through a house and just got rid of stuff. Wow, wow.
Yeah.
There's other things too besides eBay. How about bookstores that are online? There are two that I really, really like. One is Andromeda Books in Greece, and the other is oh boy, I can't pronounce this.
There are many.
Net. But those online bookstores you'll find things there that are so helpful. Like for the Peloponnese, Pikulas has a book, a really
Mhm.
large, thick book of all the settlements of the Peloponnese, from early days till present, the old names and the new names. And Greg, you had introduced me to this years ago. And I went online and bought my own version because it is so invaluable to
Mhm.
help you find the names of the old villages and what they are today. So there's those bookstores are terrific.
Yeah.
Perhaps there are village history books or things that you can find in those bookstores that you won't find in other places. So
Exactly.
very
I
And
valuable.
just recently bought one, and that was my grandfather's village. I had a copy of a copy of a copy of a book, and then someone posted it on Hellenic Genealogy Geek, and I contacted them and said, "Where did you get the book?" And they told me, and I was able to buy it just in the last couple of months from a bookstore in Greece. So I was thrilled because, where else are you going to find that? I want to tell you that you also don't forget, everybody, that there are thrift stores and everything else out there. My brother, Peter, who might be watching today, and his son used to frequent all these thrift stores, just for fun. And a couple of years ago, he contacted me. He sent me a text message with a picture of a book and said, "Is this Greek?" And I wrote back and I said, "Yes." And he says, "Well, there's like 20 of them here on the shelf at the Salvation Army. All right. In Mount Prospect, Illinois. Come on. That's not a big, huge old Greek community." But clearly what had happened was somebody died and the kids just
yeah.
dumped everything at the thrift store. So I said, "Buy them for me." So he bought the whole collection, which probably cost him about $20.
Yeah.
And he brought them home to me. I probably kept half of them. I mean, there are some, interesting stuff you can find out there. Just got to keep your eyes open.
Yeah. No, in an ideal world, we would be able to acquire, all the old stuff out there and turn them into a database and everything. But, you know, uh, I like Carol's idea that, it would be very useful if we could find a way to at least list all those different records that are available out there. But again, someone needs to read them. But yeah, at some point, perhaps we need to do something because there's really a treasure out there.
Absolutely.
Well, if anybody has ideas, put it in the chat or
yes,
put a note on Hellenic Genealogy Geeks so we can talk about it.
right. And I also want to remind people, if you write a family history book, we have the Facebook group, Greek Family History Writers. And please go ahead and put your book up there. George, I see you've made a comment in the post, and I'll talk to you offline, but there's other ways that we can get information out there where other people can find it. Hellenic Genealogy Geek, Greek Ancestry, Greek Family History Writers. But the lost and found idea, we need help. We need help. So
Yep.
love to hear from you about that.
So I think this is the end for today, for today's Greek talk. In 2 weeks from now, we have our second Greek talk. We're talking about the diary of Pantelis Karatasakis, and our guest will be Pantelis' son, Alec, who just published his father's military diary from the Asia Minor campaign. So that's pretty exciting. And then we have already announced our Greek talk for March 13th. It's memorable ancestral research trips, how to organize, how to come to Greece, what to expect and all that stuff. So make sure you stay tuned and we'll be here with you.